The sound of laughter filled the school hallway. It wasn't the kind of laughter that made people happy. It was sharp, cruel, and full of mockery. A group of kids stood in a tight circle, their voices echoing off the lockers. In the middle of them, Emma stood frozen, her fists clenched at her sides. Her face burned with shame, but she refused to look down. "Hey, Hulk girl, why don't you go lift a car or something?" sneered Jason, the tallest boy in her grade. He flexed his thin arms in an exaggerated way, making the others laugh even harder. "She probably eats 10 steaks for breakfast," another boy shouted. "Or maybe she drinks protein shakes instead of water," added a girl, her voice dripping with fake concern. Emma felt her heart pounding in her chest. She had always been strong, stronger than most kids her age. She loved sports, lifting weights with her dad, and pushing herself to be better every day. But she never thought her muscles would turn her into a joke. She could feel her anger boiling inside her. Her whole body tensed, her hands shaking. A part of her wanted to lash out, to prove to them how strong she really was. But she knew that would only make things worse. Then, without warning, Jason shoved her. The moment his hands touched her, her instincts took over. She grabbed his wrist and twisted it with ease. Jason yelped in pain, his knees buckling. The crowd gasped. Emma could see fear flash across their faces. For a second, everything went silent. Then the principal's voice boomed down the hall. "Emma Carter, my office. Now." Emma let go of Jason and stepped back, her heart racing. She could already hear the whispers. She was in trouble, and it was only going to get worse. That morning had started like any other. Emma woke up early, her muscles still sore from her workout the night before. She stood in front of the mirror, looking at her reflection. Her arms were toned, her legs strong. She knew she didn't look like most girls in her grade. While others spent their time talking about makeup and social media, she spent hers training, running, and lifting weights with her dad in their garage. She loved being strong. It made her feel powerful, like she could do anything. But at school, it was different. At school, it made her a target. As she walked into the building, she felt the usual stares. Some kids whispered, others pointed, and then there were the ones who made fun of her every chance they got. "Hey, muscle girl," a voice called out. Emma sighed before turning around. Jason stood with his usual group of friends. They always found new ways to make her feel like she didn't belong. "Are you planning to join the football team?" he smirked. "You could probably take out half the guys." His friends laughed, and Emma rolled her eyes. She had learned to ignore them, to pretend their words didn't bother her. But deep down it hurt. She had never done anything to them. So why did they hate her so much? At lunch, things got worse. She was walking past a table when she heard someone say her name. "She probably has bigger muscles than my dad," one boy joked. Emma kept walking, gripping her tray tightly. But then, something cold splashed onto her arm. She froze. Laughter erupted around her. Someone had spilled a drink all over her sleeve. "Oops," said a girl named Sarah, smirking. "Guess your muscles couldn't dodge that, huh?" Emma clenched her jaw, but she didn't say a word. She turned around and walked away, her face burning with humiliation. That was the moment she decided she had had enough. That was the moment she decided to stop pretending it didn't hurt. Later that day, in the hallway, when Jason shoved her, when he finally crossed the line, she reacted without thinking. And now, standing in the principal's office, she felt her stomach twist in knots. "Do you have any idea how serious this is, young lady?" Principal Carter's voice was sharp as he leaned forward. "Violence is never the answer." Emma swallowed hard. "I didn't mean to hurt him," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. The principal sighed, rubbing his temples. "Emma, you're a good student. But this is unacceptable." Jason sat in the chair next to her, rubbing his wrist dramatically. "She attacked me," he whined. "She could have broken my arm." Emma clenched her fists. "I didn't attack him. He pushed me first." "Enough," the principal snapped. He sighed again and shook his head. "I'm calling your parents." Emma's heart dropped. This wasn't over. It was just the beginning. She sat in the car, staring out the window. Her dad hadn't said a word since they left the school. She could feel his disappointment hanging in the air. When they pulled into the driveway, he finally spoke. "Emma." She turned to face him, bracing herself. "You know better than this," he said. But his voice wasn't angry. It was calm, steady. "We don't use our strength to hurt others." "I didn't mean to," she said quickly. I just got so mad." Her dad nodded, looking at her carefully. "I know, but you have to be stronger than that." Emma felt tears sting her eyes. But they won't stop, Dad. They keep making fun of me. They act like I'm some kind of freak. Her dad sighed, then reached out and squeezed her shoulder. You're not a freak. You're strong. And that scares them. Emma blinked. Scares them? Her dad nodded. People make fun of what they don't understand. They see your strength, and it makes them feel weak. So they try to tear you down. Emma swallowed the lump in her throat. She had never thought about it that way before. But that doesn't mean you should fight back like that, he continued. You have to find another way. Emma wiped her eyes and nodded. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to be strong in the right way. But deep down, she knew this wasn't over. Because on Monday morning, when she walked back into school, Jason and his friends would be waiting. And this time, they wouldn't just be laughing. They would be looking for revenge. The cafeteria erupted into chaos. Emma barely had time to react before the tray of food came flying toward her. It happened so fast. 1 second, she was walking to her usual table, and the next, she was covered in mashed potatoes, gravy dripping from her shirt. The laughter that followed was deafening. Jason stood a few feet away, grinning. His friends cheered him on, slapping him on the back like he had just won a championship game. Emma's entire body stiffened. Her hands curled into fists at her sides, her muscles tensing. Her heart pounded like a drum. She could feel every eye in the cafeteria on her. She could hear them whispering. She could hear them laughing. And she could feel the rage rising inside her like a storm. But just before she could do anything, a voice cut through the noise. Emma. It was Mr. Thompson, the gym teacher, and he was storming toward them, his face red with anger. Emma took a shaky breath, forcing herself to stay still. Jason was about to learn that pushing her too far came with consequences. But what would those consequences be? That morning, Emma had tried to stay invisible. She walked through the school halls with her hood up, keeping her head down. After what had happened on Friday, she knew Jason wouldn't let it go. She had humiliated him. And bullies like Jason never let things go. She had spent the entire weekend dreading Monday. Every time she thought about facing Jason and his friends again, her stomach twisted into knots. Her dad had given her a long talk after the principal's office. He had told her to keep her head up, to ignore the bullies, to prove that she was stronger, not just physically, but mentally. She had promised him she would. But the moment she walked into school, she knew it wouldn't be that easy. The whispers started immediately. Did you hear? Emma almost broke Jason's arm. She probably wrestles bears for fun. I bet she could beat up the football team. Some kids looked at her with fear. Others looked at her with disgust. And some, like Jason, looked at her with nothing but anger. At first, she managed to avoid him. She kept her head down, ignored the snickers, and focused on getting through the day. But when lunch came, she wasn't so lucky. She had barely taken 3 steps into the cafeteria when she heard Jason's voice. Hey, Hulk girl. Emma ignored him. Oh, come on, don't be shy, Jason taunted. Aren't you going to show off your super strength again? Laughter rippled through the cafeteria. Emma's heart pounded, but she kept moving. But Jason wasn't done. Here, have some extra protein. Before she could react, she felt something cold and slimy hit her chest. She looked down. Mashed potatoes and gravy covered her shirt, sliding down her arms. For a moment, everything froze. Then the cafeteria exploded with laughter. Emma's face burned. Her fists clenched so tight her knuckles turned white. She could hear her dad's voice in her head. Be stronger than this. But right now, she didn't want to be strong. She wanted to wipe that smug grin off Jason's face. And she almost did. Almost. But then, Emma. Mr. Thompson's voice cut through the cafeteria like a whip. The gym teacher marched toward them, his eyes locked on Jason. Jason Peterson, my office. Now, Jason's smirk faded instantly. What? She started it. Mr. Thompson folded his arms. I didn't see her throw food at anyone. But I sure saw you. Jason turned red. His friends shifted uncomfortably, suddenly silent. Emma swallowed hard, her body still buzzing with anger. Mr. Thompson turned to her. His voice softened. Emma, are you okay? Emma nodded, even though she wasn't. Go clean yourself up, Mr. Thompson said. I'll handle this. For the first time that day, Emma felt a small spark of relief. Jason had finally gotten caught. But deep down, she knew this wasn't over. Not even close. Later that day, Emma sat on her bed, staring at her reflection in the mirror. She wasn't sure how she felt. On one hand, Jason had finally been punished. He had gotten detention, and word had spread fast. People were actually talking about how unfair it was that he kept bullying her. For the first time, some kids were on her side. But that didn't change the fact that she still felt like an outcast. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. It was a text from Olivia, her best friend. Olivia, hey, you okay? Emma hesitated before replying. Emma, yeah, just tired. A few seconds later, Olivia sent another message. Olivia, everyone's talking about what happened. Jason looked so mad after detention. Be careful tomorrow. Emma sighed. She already knew tomorrow wouldn't be easy. Jason wouldn't just let this go. And she was right. Because the next morning, as she walked to her locker, she saw the words scrawled in big red letters across it. Freak. Her stomach twisted into knots. A crowd had already gathered, whispering and snickering. Emma felt her whole body go numb. This wasn't just a joke anymore. Jason had just made things personal. And if he thought she was just going to take it, he was dead wrong. The gym was silent except for the sound of heavy breathing and the steady rhythm of fists hitting the punching bag. Emma's knuckles ached, but she didn't stop. She couldn't stop. The words freak were still burned into her mind. She had scrubbed her locker for nearly an hour, but the red marker refused to come off completely. It didn't matter. The damage had already been done. The whispers, the snickers, the stares, they had all gotten worse. Jason had won. Or at least, that's what he thought. But Emma wasn't about to let him. She slammed her fist into the bag one last time, hard enough to send it swinging. Then she stepped back, chest rising and falling with deep breaths. Her dad had noticed the change in her, but he didn't ask questions. He just let her train, let her push herself harder than ever before. She had made up her mind. She was going to end this, once and for all. That morning, Emma walked into school with her head high. She didn't hide behind her hood. She didn't keep her eyes down. She walked straight to her locker, ignoring the whispers. And then, she waited. It didn't take long. Jason and his friends appeared just like she knew they would. Well, Jason said, his usual smirk in place. Still here, huh? I thought maybe you'd finally run away. Emma turned to face him, crossing her arms. Why would I do that? Jason scoffed. Maybe because everyone here thinks you're a freak? Do they? Emma asked, glancing around. Several students had stopped to watch. Some of them looked uncomfortable. Others seemed curious. But one thing was clear. Jason didn't have the same crowd cheering him on anymore. Jason hesitated for a second before rolling his eyes. Whatever. Doesn't change the fact that you don't belong here. Emma stepped forward. Let me ask you something, Jason. Her voice was steady, but inside, her heart was racing. Why does it bother you so much that I'm strong? Jason blinked. What? Is it because you feel weak? Jason's face turned red. His friends shifted uneasily. You've been trying to tear me down all year, Emma continued. Throwing food at me, calling me names, shoving me in the halls. But you know what? I'm still here. Jason clenched his jaw. You think you're better than me? No, Emma said. I think I'm stronger than you. Jason's eye twitched. Then, before she could react, he lunged. For the second time, his hands shoved against her shoulders, trying to knock her off balance. But this time, Emma was ready. She planted her feet and caught his arm before he could pull away. With a single move, she twisted, sending Jason stumbling forward. He landed on the floor, his arms flailing. The entire hallway gasped. Jason scrambled to his feet, his face burning with humiliation. You freak, he sputtered. You think you're tough? Emma took a deep breath and stepped back. I don't have to think, she said. I know. Jason glared at her, fists clenched, but he didn't move. His friends looked away, suddenly uninterested. And then, something unexpected happened. One of the students stepped forward. A girl Emma barely knew. That was awesome, she said. Someone else nodded. Yeah, Jason, maybe you should stop picking fights you can't win. Jason's face twisted in rage, but he had nothing to say. Without another word, he turned and stormed away, his friends trailing after him. Emma exhaled slowly. For the first time in a long time, she didn't feel like she was fighting alone. That night, she sat on the porch with her dad. The sky was clear, filled with stars. I heard what happened today, her dad said. Emma nodded. It's over now. Her dad was silent for a moment. Then he smiled. You handled it well. Emma smiled back. She had learned something important, not just about Jason, but about herself. She had spent so much time trying to fight back with her fists, when really, her strength had always been in something else. Her resilience. Her confidence. Her ability to stand tall, no matter how many times they tried to knock her down. She wasn't just strong. She was unstoppable.